Great. And then on page 10, let me just make sure I understand this debt for our bond. If I'm reading this correctly, the total debt services for principal amount is $284 million. And then with interest, two types of interest. Am I understanding that we're going to have to pay approximately $660 million amortized, or am I reading this? Am I not understanding this correctly?
And are you
So the
specifically
delta.
referencing the accreted interest column, or
Yeah,
and
what's
then
the
total?
is this the total amount where the taxpayers are going to be liable for?
Yes,
Okay.
that will be the total that taxpayers. are
And
gonna
what's the term?
pay. That
Over.
there'll probably be more detail in the district report as far as the breakdown. There's numerous bond issues.
No, what I mean by term is like over what span of time? Is
Right,
that 30
right.
years?
Right, each issuance has a number of years. I think it probably goes out to 2037. Oh, yeah. Yeah, out to 2050 is when the last payment is due. So
Excuse
it's
me,
going
wait.
out many years.
2050?
Yeah.
Okay. That's going to be the cost to the taxpayers in 2050.
Right,
I got you.
spread
Thank you.
out over that time period. Yeah,
That's all I had. Thank you.
okay.
And it's not to scare everyone in the year 2050, but that'll be at the end of it all. So they're actually the taxpayers, thank you very much, are paying as we speak right now on these payment of bonds. You find it on your tax statements. Other members of the board? Chair recognizes Trustee Otto.
Yeah, just on that last point. Now, is that only for the 2008 bond? The other one's now, I think, been totally utilized, the 2002.
The district has
So it's the
two bonds.
$440 million, which was I'll use the wrong word, the corpus.
If you-
And then, so the difference between that and the 659 is what the interest is?
So this financial audit is only referring to the 2008
Right, okay.
voter approved. So the 2001 would be listed in the district financial statement.
Right.
Note 8 begins on a rather lengthy note. Begins on page 26 regarding the 2002 bond measure. And including 2008, it goes through page 31. There is a nice summary on page 32 that lists all the various bonds. Includes a couple of other long-term debt items.
Right.
But these would only include the principal portion if you're referring to the schedule on page 30.
I just wasn't sure, but now I know. Thank you.
President Kellogg, I failed to ask a question on the letter that was sent out. So I don't know if this is a report or it was a letter dated December 1st to the Board of Trustees and the Audit Committee. And page 3 of the letter, it says we had the responsibility, this is the third paragraph, on other information and documents containing audit financial statements. It says we had the responsibility to determine that such financial information represented was not materially inconsistent with the audited statements of the district. What do you define as materially?
Well, that's a professional standard, and judgment is put into that. Our accounting standards comes up with a calculation of what that materiality is. I don't have the number readily available. It is subject to auditor judgment. But are you referring to the material that we reviewed?
Well, I just was wondering, materiality is very subjective,
yeah,
so I
it's a
wanted
super
to see.
secret accounting.
Well, I'm an auditor, and I
Right, okay.
would have disclosed it, but that's fine.
Okay. I
On
can share that
page,
information with Emery. And
sure, that would be fantastic. It doesn't have a page number. It's attachment A, 1 of 2. It says there's uncorrected misstatements of $540,367. And if I'm understanding this correctly, that you made the recommendation and it wasn't corrected.
There's certain past adjustments included in that letter that we disclose them, but we would never insist that they be booked. And fair value difference in Cashin County is definitely one of those. Cashin County is one of the larger assets of the district. We take the information provided by the county to provide that information to management, but it's not common practice for anyone to book it at the fair value.
Okay, so my understanding that we are is this underreporting or overreporting of 500, about over $500,000?
The Cashin County is basically an investment, so how the county invests that money, yes, there is a loss on the investment, but that is not reflected in the financial statements, nor should it.
I see. Okay, and then I just noticed that, was there a reason why we switched firms for our performance audits? I noticed that Moss Adams used to do our performance audits, or is that something that,
Emery, you want to answer that? There's a reason behind it. It's a good reason.
Yes, we went out for an RFP back in the spring for the audit services of the performance audit, and we selected Vicente Lloyd and Stoltzman because they were the lowest qualified respondent of the audit services.
and how many proposals do we have? Is it just roughly
5.
5? Okay, great. Thank you so much.
And
And that's
also,
really all I had. So President Kellogg, thank you.
and also, is there, I don't want to say there's a law, but good practices, for lack of a better word, is that you don't continually use the same auditing firm over a course of time. You naturally, and I don't want to say firm because that may be misleading, you don't have the same individuals always doing it. So it could be possibly the same firm, but it may be another accountant working through the process.
Another partner.
Right, and that way we make sure that people don't say, well, it's just all you're doing is running the paperwork over and over again. So I know that was part of the reason as well.
Do we have a plan to go out to, for solicitation for our financial audit then? Because I noticed Vicente's been doing our financial audits for the past 10 years.
Vice President Gable?
We do RFPs for our audit services every 5 years, so I believe we're in the 4th of the 5th year on the district audit. I see someone nodding their head yes, so we'll have one more year. They will do the 14-15 audit, then we will be going out for an RFP for the 15-16 audits and thereon.
Okay, great.
The other members of the board? I just, and I appreciate the fact that there's a audit committee I'm a member of. I was not able to sit down directly with you because I was actually with my work, and but the same day with Vice President Gable to go over all the material. And the question, because going through audit material, in all honesty, for the general population, it's very difficult to really absorb. It's even difficult to absorb when you've been doing it for many years. But the simple question I had then, and I looked through here, and you have comments, but simply stated, as you look through all our policies and procedures for the Long Beach Community College District, and did you find any irregularities, any areas of dispute or concerns in all of these reports that you did for us in this past year?
There is no, in the letter that Trustee Zia is referring to. That.
So the point I want to make on that, knowing the answer already, because I would not have asked it if it had said otherwise, but this is part of the accounting process that you deal with in a community college system, and how you cross-check and you have your checks and balances, and having other people who are experts to look at things, and this is part of that process. So I appreciate the time you took to go over everything, and I apologize again for not being at the meeting directly. I just put the burden on Vice President Gable to go over it all again that same day, I believe. Other members of the board?
I wanted to ask another question from
Zia?
the audit committee, actually. So do we have a bond management team? Does someone manage our bonds? Because last time I asked in the October meeting, I was told we manage it. We don't have an outside consultant, or did I misunderstand?
Vice President Gable, would like to answer Trustee Zia?
We contract with Cordoba Corporation, which is what we call our bond management team, but myself and the facilities department oversees them, And so really, the management of our bond program is done by district staff. We do contract with them for the day-to-day construction management services as well as the program management services, but all invoices, all contracts, and everything is reviewed and approved by district staff before it's ever paid or before the contract is ever signed.
Okay, because the audit reports do indicate it was first Bovis and then Cordoba, but I noticed throughout the years that the issues kept increasing. And I went through all the reports that we had. It started out, and that's where I got a little bit confused, and perhaps you can shed some light. It ended up with 116 issues identified, and at some point it was 70 something, I believe. It started out with 79, and it went to 116. So I thought maybe the audit committee can provide some insight on that and why that is. And then the other question I have is, I asked for a list of projects that we have in our October 28th meeting, and I was told that we track on time, on budget, or the project status through our audit, performance audits. I can tell you I've scoured through these audit reports and I don't find it. Is it something I'm missing? Because I don't see a tally, or perhaps you guys can provide a report at some point. I don't see it in these many pages, but if you can shed some light on that as well, that'd be great. Thank you.
I can take the first question because I was actually the one who oversaw the bond program when it began. So the performance audit, when it was first initiated, and you're referring to the performance audit, not the financial audit. The financial audit never had any major findings. It was the performance audit that had those 76 issues, whatever it is. The performance audit, when it was initially established under Prop 39, it was something that was created at that time. So there was no standard as to what a performance auditor or a performance audit looked at. And so you'll find in many districts, K-12 and community college, this was an industry that was created because of this proposition. Many auditing firms who had some experience in construction projects got involved, and we hired Moss Adams at the time. And so what we had requested as a district was for the audit firm to look at practices, to look at how we can improve the processing of payments to contractors, how can we ensure that projects were being completed as timely as possible. We were looking at best practices. So we specifically asked the auditing firm to get into those areas and give us as much feedback as possible. So that's why those issues were brought to the district at that time, and it gave us a baseline. Now, the performance audits have matured over time, and there's actually some industry standards now, and so you'll see an evolution as opposed to the financial audits, which has been pretty standard except for some minor GASB and FASB changes over time. So that's why you see a big difference from those initial performance audits to what you see today. With regard to the projects themselves, those in the performance audit are tracked in terms of, are they consistent with the budgets? They don't track each individual project, but they do track whether budgets, first of all, projects are matching project descriptions in the when we went to the voters, and are our budgeting processes consistent with best practices, and are our projects coming to some industry standard of ratio of cost to completion. That's what they were looking at that time. I'd have to turn it over to Vice President Gable, so how we're tracking that now.
Right, so we still do establish budgets by project, and that is monitored at several times. We had the original budgets, and then as the project gets going, working with the architects, working with the users to define the scope, we get an estimated budget from the architects based upon the programming that is done from the users' needs, desires, wishes, wants, and the budget is established at the time that we go out to bid for the project. And that is what you see as the adjusted budget in the Citizens Oversight Committee report. So the Citizens Oversight Committee reviews all of our quarterly expenditure reports, which shows, you know, the detail of the original budget, any budget adjustments that have been made, as well as the adjusted budget, and where we are on spending both encumbrances as well as expenditures, and what is available to be spent by project.
I'm mainly interested in the project status. That's what I asked for, and if it's possible, I'd like to see that in a report of some fashion. I was told it's in the performance audits and in financial audits. I didn't find it, and rightfully so with your explanation. So would it be possible, Superintendent Oakley, to come back with a report or even a tracking sheet of some sort to know the status of each project as it relates to the bond money?
Just so that I'm clear, so we had a report by the facility staff on the projects. We'll go back to that report and see what additional information we might be able to provide.
Yeah, that report lacked what I'm asking for, and I asked at the time, and I still, you know, would like to see that information. It's just a simple spreadsheet saying specific projects, where we're at with it from a budget standpoint, and completion of anticipated completion timeline.
Let me work on a couple of possible solutions to that, and we'll get back to you.
Sounds great, thank you.
And in that meeting where we had the facilities presentation, when we were talking about that, we did discuss about having in 2015, especially for the new members, or really a lot of people don't understand the delivery methods for construction projects with the community colleges. And the examples I use, for example, on the corner, the parking structure is what they call design build. The risk is entirely put on the person who's doing the building. I'm really trying to generalize, but if they go over budget, it is on them. So that is one delivery method. There's other type of delivery methods we talked about in 2015, maybe having a presentation for the board to hear that again, to see all the different ways of doing, and this is only in the construction with our bond money, but we
That
thought
would be great,
valuable.
President Keller.
That's what we're talking about. Even at that meeting, we mentioned about doing that somewhere in 2015 to give some people on the board some information, but also members of the public as well, because I realize sometimes it can be somewhat confusing, but what they do understand is it's taxpayer dollars. How is those taxpayer dollars being spent? So other questions, members of the board? Seeing none?
Can I ask ask a clarifying question, Board President Kellogg of the auditors? Two questions. One, because we have obviously 3 new members of the board who have not been privy to the previous presentations from our auditors. Can you elaborate? Obviously, for the financial audit, you're auditing the district's finances. But in terms of the accounting manual that you follow, who gives you that direction? And just give us an idea of what additional items you're looking at in the audit, just so that the new board members are aware of what else you're looking at.
So there's several regulatory agencies that come into your financial statements. Our professional standards, which are the AICPA, American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. We have GAAP, which is generally accepted accounting principles. The district is a governmental entity, so they follow GASB, which is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, as well as receiving federal funding, so the Office of Management and Budget from the feds. And state awards are received, and the Chancellor's Office issues what's referred to as the CDAM, the Contracted District Audit Manual. So I try to include all the acronyms in case you've heard these acronyms and wondering what they are. So
the board contracts with you to ensure that all these agencies that we receive money from, that the compliance measures that they require of us are done. And so our audit is also reported back to those agencies.
Yes, that's what the 3
Okay.
letters.
Then my second question is, because there's been a lot of discussion about expenditures under $25,000, can you elaborate as to whether or not you test any of those expenditures and what your auditing procedures are of those expenditures?
Okay. So we do test on a sample basis. We don't do 100% testing, because that just would not be an effective or very efficient cost-wise to have somebody come in and look at every expenditures. We do look at the internal controls we document the internal controls, and then we go through and we make sure that the internal controls are working as described. There are certain individuals that are given authority to approve certain expenses, and we make sure that those are the individuals that are approving those items, mainly the items less than 25,000.
Thank you.
So if I understand you correctly, you don't look at the actual expenditures. You look at the internal controls set up, right?
No.
You look at all the expenditures under 25,000
No, we do a sample.
sample. Okay, that's fine. And, I think the last audit that we had was June 2013, right? And this is the latest one that captures till June 2014.
Yes,
So
the Chancellor's Office requires that the audit report be submitted by December 31st to the Chancellor's Office.
okay,
So
great.
the-
So technically, we can't really rely on a year and a half old audit that has a small selection of $25,000 purchase orders. We have to do our due diligence going forward on a
Well-
monthly basis as we are approving the board
Right.
items.
Well, your auditor is not your internal control system. We review your internal controls.
I
Sure,
absolutely
sure.
agree with you.
Chair recognizes Trustee Archuleta.
Yes, I just have a question regarding the programs, particularly the categorical programs. How often do you audit those programs? Is it an annual audit or
Are you referring to the federal
the
categorical?
federal
or
and the state categoricals?
So the Office of Management and Budget have defined how we come up with a major program. So on page 56 are the programs that we identified for this year. There is a schedule in the back of the audit report. We set a threshold and we test the revenue that has come in for those programs as well as the expenses that have been paid for them. But as far as looking more in depth, looking at, talking to the director of those programs, documenting the internal controls associated with those programs, they may only, if they meet a certain threshold, they may only be audited every 3 years.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, if I may correct what Ms. DeCauer said, it's on page 69 of the audit report. We'll identify the federal programs that were audited. As far as the state programs, I'll go into a little bit more detail. If you look at a page 68, the Chancellor's Office does require that they audit EOPS, DSPS, and then they're also auditing all of our FTES, which on this particular item, it's the students actively enrolled is kind of the FTES audit that they do. So those are the two categorical programs that they were required to look at for the current fiscal year. And then there's a number of other things that they're looking at from the state perspective as well, but you can see that on page 68.
Thank you.
No other question, Trustee Archuleta?
No, thank you.
My final question, I believe I brought it up before. In the past year, we've been moving towards going to electronic board docs. It's a lengthy process to get your structure in place so you can do it. These type of reports that kill trees on an average basis, these will all then be available on our electronic board docs, so they're much more easier to have people be able to have access to them. So another advantage of, I believe, these are all going to be then available in our board docs so the public can pull them up as well as, and we won't have to have so many documents like this, correct?
Yes, those will be available in a PDF as they are right now. All of our audit reports, once the board approves the audit reports, those will be posted to our website, hopefully by the end of the week, depending upon staff time and availability.
All right, very good. Other questions? There is a motion, a second on the floor to approve. No other questions, comments? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on this item.
President Kellogg,
Aye.
Vice President Otto,
Aye.
Member Archuleta,
Aye.
Member Baxter,
Aye.
and Member Zia.
Aye. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much, again. Now that we've gotten everyone excited about talking about audits and numbers, we're going to move to item 1.1, and this is the progress on our new trustee goal number 3. This is an informational item only. At this time, I'll recognize Vice President Otto.
Well, as I'm sure you know, in October, we adopted board goals for the years 2014 through 2016, and we added a new goal. That new goal is, and I'm quoting now exactly what the goal is, support programs to build a more collegial campus community by creating better relationships and communications among all campus stakeholders. And the bullets underneath that are support the establishment of a leadership development program for Long Beach City College faculty and staff, And the second bullet is expanding opportunities for interaction among the Board of Trustees and all campus stakeholders. So what we've been trying to do is to give you updates literally on a meeting-by-meeting basis of how we're doing that. And at this point, I think I would defer to Rose Delgadio, who's going to give us some information about what's going on.
Vice President Delgadio?
Yes, thank you, President Otto. I'm delighted to give the board an update on some of the thinking and planning that's going on. Certainly, I want to say first off that Karen Kane has certainly been a part of this. What we see going forward will be an academy or a leadership program. We haven't yet pegged the name, but it will certainly be a joint effort between faculty, classified staff, and management. So let me start with the end in mind. The intent is to kick off an academy in fall 2015. So we are looking at conceivably between 25 and 30 individuals to serve as a cohort. The schedule will be, we're anticipating a year-long program, and in the interest of trying to move employees through as quick as possible so that we can all have the benefit of the education, we are thinking that a new cohort would start each semester. Of course, being able to do that will depend on having the appropriate resource to manage such a program. The program will be by application and selection process. We anticipate that process being done by May 2015. And backing it up further, we anticipate advertising the program April 2015. We have a meeting on the agenda with an advisory committee, which is composed of faculty, staff, and management. That is scheduled for January 29th, 2015. And with that in mind, Karen and I plan to meet over the month of January as soon as she breaks free and we kind of clear our calendars after the holidays to begin to put that framework together so that we can meet with the committee, the advisory committee, and hammer out the program that we anticipate kicking off, as I said, in fall 2015.
Very good. Trustee Otto, anything else on that?
Not on that. There's another item on the agenda that I think we put student success under the trustees heading on the agenda. But I think what I'd like to do is to defer that discussion until we talk about the student equity plan program, because that'll give us some context for that discussion.
All right, very good. And the reason why, though, it is on there for colleagues on the board to put student success down is that that'll be an ongoing agenda item as we try to keep track of areas, because student success is defined many different ways by many different people. So we want to have an area in there we can actually go back at every meeting and talk about some of the points that we're progressing through. The item that was just mentioned is one of our new board goals, and then the question was, how are we going to make it actually, how are we going to achieve it? So anyway, that is informational item only, so we will move on. Consent calendar. Could I have a motion to approve the consent calendars? Motion, first consent, motion by Trustee Otto, second by Trustee Archuleta. There are items to remove from consent calendar?
Yes, there. Go ahead, Judy. You.
Go ahead.
12.1, 12.4, and 12.5.
12.1, 12.4, 12.5. Others?
Yes, 6.3, 6.4.
6.3, 6.4. All right, the remaining four consent calendar items. There is a motion and a second to approve. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on those consent calendar items.
President Kellogg,
Aye.
Vice President Otto,
Aye.
Member Archuleta,
Aye.
Member Baxter,
Aye.
and Member Zia.
All right, those all carry. We're item 6.3. This is commercial warrants. I would like to first entertain a motion to approve that, and then we'll have discussion on item 6.3.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Otto,
Second.
Trustee Baxter to approve. Discussion. Chair recognizes Trustee Baxter.
Yes. In the attempt to be totally transparent, I want to reveal that the GRD Consulting firm was a donor to the Long Beach City College Foundation.
All right.
That's it.
All right, very good. There then is are you then going to abstain, is what you're saying?
I don't know whether I abstain or just reveal.
From a ethics perspective, there's no reason Trustee Baxter would need to abstain because she does not personally benefit from any of these relationships.
All right.
I'm only providing this for transparency.
All right, thank you. There's a motion, a second, on item 6.3.